Welcome to Fast Five, where our four panelists weigh in on 5 separate and fun topics. Let's get started. Snortable chocolate. What do we think about that one?
Well, there's a trend that's been going on in Europe the last few years where people are snorting powdered chocolate in order to get an energy buzz, essentially, and it's starting to come to the United States. There's a guy who's selling it on Amazon, and he says you just snort a little bit of chocolate. It's got some of the same ingredients minus the caffeine of an energy drink, and it gives you about an hour to an hour and a half, I believe it said, of sort of an energy boost similar to drinking an energy drink, and then it sort of wears off.
This hasn't been FDA verified or anything in that regard. And my concern is putting your body can digest chocolate, but I don't know if our lungs have the ability to. What if it goes past the nasal passages and down into our lungs? What kind of legacy is that going to do on those?
Why would anybody snort any foreign substance into their lungs? I just don't get that. I just don't get it.
I mean, unregulated?
You know what? Yeah. Breathing is a really important piece for me, and I'm not sure, but I am sure. You can't live without that, right?
All the doctors say the best thing to do is eat the chocolate, not snort it into your lungs.
And this is more like cocoa powder, not necessarily Ghirardelli chocolate. So
it's a powder.
To play devil's advocate, though, the person that's putting this out, even though I will note this, there's no ingredients list on the snortable chocolate that he's selling, so you don't really know what's in it, which is why that definitely gives me pause with that.
Yeah.
But apparently everyone in Europe's been doing it for some time, and they're all fine. And as a college student, this is the kind of thing that sort of piques my interest, because maybe I get home from working at the radio station at 10 o'clock or something, and I've still got a couple hours of homework to do. If I drink a cup of coffee, I'll be up till 3 a.m. I snort a little bit of chocolate, wears off by midnight, I'm at bed in a reasonable hour.
I came from the generation of no dose. I didn't do that. I don't know why someone needs
I don't think as a 911 dispatcher working 12 hours, I'll be snorting any chocolate.
Three
I hear your point, though.
3 words: methyl ethyl bad stuff. That's what this is. Methyl ethyl bad stuff.
It's chocolate. I don't see why it needs to be FDA
They say it's chocolate, but who said there was no ingredient?
Regulate every new product.
All right. We've had a string of Hollywood movie flops, and Trump is to blame. What do you think?
Woe is us. Woe is us that the actors spend more time politicizing their failures than worrying about putting out good movies. Maybe we should really evaluate the scripts and the casting of the actors before we start to blame someone who has nothing to do with it.
I have to say, as someone from the Democratic side of the aisle, I could care less about what the actors think and what they do. I mean, it's not important to me. I mean, the movies they make, it's up to them to make a good movie. It's not up to some outside force like the president who could influence how they act or how they behave. I just find it stupid and silly.
Tyler?
Well, if there's anything that's causing people to not go to the movies, it's the fact that sitting at home and watching the news is just about the same thing as far as absolute insaneness and entertainment value.
The ultimate reality show.
Of course.
Yeah. I have 6 words for the actors. Shut up and read your lines.
There you go.
All right, next up, comedian to Trump. Deport the police to make the streets safer.
Gotta love George Lopez. My first reaction when I heard this was, wow, George Lopez is still alive? Haven't heard from him in a while, but I think it's just ridiculous. It's George Lopez not being relevant anymore and wishing he was, sort of a Kathy Griffin type thing.
I kind of see what he was saying. I disagree with it completely, but he took the whole police community and lumped it all into one segment.
Right.
We know there are police out there who have abused their authority across the country, and in some cases very badly. Mm-hmm. But he took a very broad statement about that and let it out there into the press. And like you say, who's George Lopez anyway?
Exactly.
Honestly, where's the relevance? As you said, he took, lumped every person that does service for our communities and lumped them all in one bucket and painted them with the same brush. It's not right. Okay. Yes, we have some people who are failures out there as law enforcement officers. There's very few and far between when we consider. So we should be thankful about the ones that do the good job. and community can weed out the weak ones.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's where the body cams will come into play, because those weak ones will get
And wasn't the
ousted.
Hagerstown City Chief really happy they had body cams on those officers?
Absolutely. Yeah, I look at this very simply. You know, they don't want to stigmatize and say that all Muslims are terrorists, and they're not. A very small percentage of them are. In the past, they didn't want to stigmatize and say all Christians are KKK members, because guess what? They aren't. Only a very small percentage of them are. Same thing here. Yes, there are some bad cops on the street, but there are the vast majority are good and show up to work to do the right thing every day. All right, new report shows 50% of the people at this table and through our viewing audience are cheap tippers.
No, I always give about 20%.
You're a 20% guy?
20% based
You're a
off of
20% Democrat.
Well, some things have to be that way, I guess.
What do you think?
20% based off of
The total bill.
total bill. Okay, see, I don't do 20% off the tax because the tax is given to the government. I do 20% off of what my gross bill is. As a median, if I get exceptional service, it will become more generous. If I get extremely weak service, I might take or shave a couple points off, but you know, with the exception of actually getting up and physically walking out of a restaurant, I've never left the table without a tip, because waitresses really bust their humps to try to do their job.
Yep.
Tyler?
And you're exactly right on that. The vast majority of these people who are working, you know, minimum low-wage jobs in restaurants, they're just trying to make a living. Sometimes they have a bad day, and sometimes they have a tough time serving you. I always try, even if the service I get is a little bit questionable, to make sure that I leave a 20% tip or thereabouts. I don't eat out very often.
But do we find it unique that Americans are really the only society that tips?
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Should there be tipping in general? Should there
I think
be
it's a good way to encourage good service. And
Sometimes,
Well, that's what tips actually means, to ensure prompt service.
right. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's also, for those of you who like the minimum wage, who is the only class of people that are accepted from the minimum wage?
servers.
There you go.
$3.63 an hour.
There you go. And do they make that up in tip? Yes, they probably do. And if they don't, then the employer theoretically has to make it up. But still. All right, last topic. Christie tries his luck at sports radio.
What
What
could
do
go
we
wrong?
think of that?
A talking piñata on the radio. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with Chris Christie doing a sports broadcast that is serving the New Jersey market? I don't know.
And he's a Cowboys fan, no less. He's in the middle of
He was wearing a
Giants,
Cowboys hat,
Jets,
and it looked like a Giants sweatshirt or
all
something.
type- he's whatever he wants to be.
Well, you know, Mike Francesa, which is who he filled in
Right.
for,
Yep.
is a radio legend in the sports world. And now, yeah, I didn't see that. I got to tell you, you know, we all make bad decisions in our lives. At one point, I actually liked Chris Christie. I thought he had some good ideas. I looked at him, and he's one that, for me at least, the more I learned, the less I liked.
But he did this on the heels of shutting down the Jersey beaches and then taking his family to the beach. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Someone in the PR department.
He's checked out.
Yeah.
Chris Christie knows for a fact he's not going to get reelected, because just as you used to
Well,
like
he can.
Chris
I don't
Christie,
think.
term limited, I
Yeah,
believe.
so he term limited out. But
Oh, he is?
but
Okay.
yeah, he has left the building
I mean,
for all
he got
intents
a
and purposes.
60% voter approval last time. He got 60% of the vote. Now he's down at 15%.
Obviously, he doesn't have much of a future in politics. Maybe he's just looking for a backup career.
There you go. Well, you'll get the last word on that. Stay tuned, because last call is next. We're back in 3 minutes.